6 years following one buck can become quite the journey.
Well, we've been out walking all day today. Right here it is. So there he is, all cleaned off.
And watching him grow over the years, now this year there was no other deer that I wanted to hunt.
We just got settled in on day one. It's September 15th. That was less than ideal. The buck we were set up for there came right at last light. See how the rest of the season goes. The guy might be wishing that he took a shot at him.
Because after an encounter on day one, how long could a second look really take?
Day something.
Yeah, I don't even know what day it is. You had a lot of sits in for this guy already.
Trying to make decisions on how long we stick it out, and all we're missing is the deer that I should have shot on the first day.
Stealth Cam presents Dean Partridge's Canadian Whitetail, brought to you by Ozonics, Undetectable, Undeniable, Monster Meal, Attraction, Nutrition, Results, Excalibur Crossbow, different for a reason, Heater Bodysuit, #1 in cold weather hunting gear, new archery products, hunt with confidence, Bog, engineered for the unknown, Hoyman, your land, your legacy, Muddy, serious gear for serious hunters, Glendale 3D Targets, the biggest and toughest 3D targets in the world. Nocturnal lighted knocks, switch on accuracy, and let it glow. Hunter Specialties, serious hunting tools. Boyd's hardwood gun stocks, better with Boyd's. Raculator, score your trophy fast, easy, and accurate. Old timer knives, built for generations. And by Stealth Cam, proven reliability, proven quality, proven performance.
Our hunts have never been defined or measured by whether or not we actually shoot a deer. Rather by watching them grow, learning as we go, and then maybe one day, hunting that buck. And this week, what a special deer we have to share with everyone. A buck that we picked up on way back in 2015.
As a 3 or 4-year-old, he already had a nice 5x5 frame and carried that same frame into 2016, just a little bit larger, putting on a few inches again in 2017 when we were lucky enough to pick his sheds.
Well, we've been out walking all day today. We're looking at a spot that got absolutely pounded by quite a few shed hunters, and the one set that we were hoping to find this year, probably the top set I was hoping to find this year, we were sure were gone. The snow melted a little bit, and not very far away, right here it is. There's one. So there he is, all cleaned off. It's pretty nice deer right there. We just let him lay this year. We hoped he'd survive. He did survive the season. He's a nice heavy buck that it's gonna be pretty neat to see how he grows this summer.
And he did grow again in 2018, though marginally. And again in 2019, making slow but consistent gains each year, earning his nickname of Steady Eddy.
This segment of Canadian Whitetail has been brought to you by Glendale, the only 3D target with a replaceable 4-sided core. Glendale, the biggest and toughest 3D targets in the universe. Canadian Whitetail is also brought to you by Central Boiler Outdoor Furnaces, the ultimate wood heat, Black Eagle Arrows, advanced carbon technology, Block Archery Targets, the world's #1 archery target, Tacticam, share your hunt, Wild Edge, the ultimate climbing system, Cyclops Lights, get out of the dark, and by Hawk and the new Hawk Down and Out Hybrid Blinds. This segment is brought to you by AAE. Innovation and integrity is in our blood. Quality and dependability is in our products.
It had been 6 years now watching the buck that we nicknamed Steady Eddy, and we couldn't wait to see if he'd survived and how he might look now in 2020. We knew right where to look and picked back up on him in June. He'd survived another year, and though a slow start, in July he really started to pack the antler on, and like usual, just small increase from the year before. But all these years of small gains had produced one handsome buck, and I was already convinced that this was the only buck that I wanted to hunt this fall. With most of the crops coming off and the September 15th season opener approaching, Stevie and I were headed in to set up on Steady Eddy.
Well, Stevie and I came in today to get the blind set up here, and it's kind of a unique setup. We'll show you a few different angles of the blind to see kind of what I'm talking about, but we actually had to dig it into the side hill like that to kind of level it off, but it's a really neat spot. So we're right on the flat comes down, then there's a bit of a plateau before it goes down into a creek, but right on the bottom, there's about a 100-yard strip of ag, and it's a wheat field right now. It's gonna get harvested, but the deer are out there like crazy. And the primary buck we're set up here for, we call him Steady Eddy, because every year he kind of looks about the same, and he's actually kind of snuck up on us, because Steve and I were looking at pictures of him this year, and we were looking at him, and we thought, you know, he doesn't grow a lot every year, but he's an old buck now, and he just bumps up a little bit every year, and he's kind of snuck up on us. We kind of looked at him, and we're gonna wanna have a look at that deer this year. It's phenomenal that he survived here so long because it's a public hunting area, and there's a lot of pressure. So that's actually what we kind of did with the blind is we cut it into the side hill because we didn't want to stick it right on top. We don't want the blind to get shot at. Steve's getting some brush up there. We'll get a little bit more. It's a perfect spot for a blind because when you look from the bottom, up from a deer's perspective, there's just hill behind it. So there's no roof line, there's no skyline. We'll go down and I'll kind of show you what this ag looks like down here. Up from where the blind is on the side of the bank, you can see right across here down here, that hill's kind of in the way, but it's about 80 to 100 yards wide strip of wheat here, and then right into the creek bottom. And they love to travel this edge along the bank here where the woods are. And that buck that we call Steady Eddy is kind of a tricky deer because it's really where the history of a deer comes in to be very helpful sometimes. And that's because we watched him all summer long on our stealth cam. We had some monster meal attracting out, and that was on the other side of the creek, about a quarter mile down the creek, and then there's a canola field there, and that's where he spends the summer. And then he disappeared there 3 weeks ago, and we only got in here last week, put the trail camera up, and he was one of the first deer on it, and he's been through there in daylight ever since. And that's because that deer on the other side of the creek, he disappears every year in August for us. So as soon as he disappeared, because we had paid attention to that deer over the last few years, we bumped over and he was right there. He was one of the first deer on it. We're gonna move our stealth cam down here, put some more monster meal out, and in 8 days, we should be ready to hunt this setup.
Nearly as soon as we were set up, we were getting pictures of Steady Eddy on the stealth cam and in the light. Now we just needed the season start.
Welcome to this week's Canadian Whitetail Scouting segment. Locate, learn, set up, hunt. Brought to you by Muddy Outdoors.
Well, let me start this segment by saying, when you buy a tag, that's your tag, and nobody has the right to tell you what you should or shouldn't be hunting. I've got a lot of friends that are meat hunters. They don't care about big 6x6s or little 3x3s or whether it's a doe. They're out there to shoot meat, and that's their right. That's their tag, and nobody has the right to tell them what they should be hunting. But now for the rest of us who are looking for big trophy deer, who want to challenge ourselves with getting that opportunity at a once-in-a-lifetime deer, there's a few steps that we can take to get us there quicker. And the very easiest, most important first step is stop shooting those 2, 3, and 4-year-old deer. For those looking for that deer of a lifetime, these young bucks are the bucks of tomorrow. These are the bucks that you're going to be wanting to hunt in 3, 4, 5 years, 2 years. These are going to be your target deer. And if those deer never get a chance to mature, they never get a chance to be a trophy deer. Trophy hunting in the last few years has taken a bit of a bad rap, and it's not accurate. Every bit of meat off every animal we harvest is utilized by our families and our friends. It's no different than the guy down the road that's shooting the first deer he sees for meat to fill his freezer. We're utilizing that meat just as much. The only exception is we're trying to challenge ourselves. It's something that we love to do, to try to find the biggest, baddest buck in the woods that we can find. Try to track that deer, watch that deer over several years, and eventually get a chance to harvest that buck. These 2, 3, and 4-year-old young and up-and-comer bucks are the lifeblood. They're what fuel those bucks of tomorrow. They're what fuel our dreams in 5, 6, 7 years. They're the deer that we want to target, and the only way they're going to live is if we let them survive. And yes, and we've heard it, we've seen it all the time. If there's a really big 3 or 4-year-old deer, the neighbor might shoot it. The guy down the road might shoot it, and the rut, he might get shot right off the road. Those are all possibilities, and that's part of the challenge. That's why it's so rare to get that big mature buck, because those deer have such a challenge to live to that age. But the only surefire way to make sure that that buck doesn't get to maturity is if you shoot that deer. If your goal is a big mature buck and you shoot that deer when he's a young deer, you're never going to get that opportunity at the deer you're looking for. And it's true that a lot of people don't have as much time as other people to be in the woods. And if you're out there looking for that big mature buck and you don't find it, what you have to resist is taking that last day buck. If the deer population's good, instead of taking that last day buck, just take a doe. If you're wanting to fill your freezer, take a doe for your freezer. Give that buck a chance to grow up. Maybe next year that's going to be the buck that you're after. And again, nobody has the right to tell you what to do with your tag, what you should be hunting, what you should be targeting, or what hunting should mean to you. But this is just for those looking for that upper age class buck, looking for that once-in-a-lifetime trophy. And to get there, it doesn't matter where we hunt or how we hunt, you have to stop shooting those 2, 3, and 4-year-old bucks to get that upper age class deer, because without that upper age class deer, you can be the best hunter on the best ground, but you can't kill what doesn't exist. And the only way to get those bucks is to let those younger deer walk. And that's your Canadian Whitetail Scouting segment for the week.
This week's Canadian Whitetail Scouting segment has been brought to you by Muddy Outdoors. Share your own muddy moment. This segment of Canadian Whitetail has been brought to you by Bog. More than just a shooting rest. Bog, engineered for the unknown.
The stand was ready. Steady Eddy was a regular on the stealth cam and it was opening day. All that was left was one last check of equipment and it was time to go hunt.
We just got settled in on day one. It's September 15th, which means all the zones in Saskatchewan are open for archery now, so we've been kind of waiting for opening day. The buck here, he's a buck that we've watched him for years. We call him Steady Eddy. He's a mainframe 5x6, fairly heavy, and if you like typicals, he's just about as pretty as they come. So I don't know if it's going to take 1 day, 2 days, 2 months, 3 years, but hopefully we get a look at him. And we've already got a visitor down on the flat here. Farmer's in here baling the straw now, so depending on how long he's here, that might blow our night out, but we're just gonna sit tight. I mean, I've seen running a combine, we've seen bucks lay 20 yards away from where the combine's running and not even bother, so.
As suspected, as soon as the farmer heads out, the deer begin to move. The first day excitement is a feeling that we all cherish. Though hunts rarely conclude on day one, after 6 years of waiting to hunt Steady Eddy, we lay eyes on him on the very first day. It was already late, and we'd already begun packing up when we looked out, and there he was. It was late. I'd been waiting years to go after him, and to see him in all his glory in good light, and I reluctantly passed, confident that we would have another chance at him in the coming days.
That was less than ideal. The buck we were set up for there came right at last light, and we were just getting packed up. I actually grabbed the camera from Joe back off the tripod to get some clips of him, but it was just too dark. I don't know. I think it was still legal light, but getting pretty dark to shoot. Then we waited him out, and then it got dark. We thought he maybe left the field, but we weren't really sure. And a couple of little bucks were about 80 yards out, so we tried sneaking out, and I thought we got away with it till we got on top of the ridge. And then we heard one of them puff, and they ran away. So nice to get a look at him. Definitely not ideal to maybe have blown the field off on the first night, but he's a nice deer. We'll see how the rest of the season goes. Might regret that one. I don't know. Pretty rainy, dreary day. We'll just see how it goes. If it starts raining pretty hard, we'll get out. I don't mind hunting in the rain. The bucks usually move pretty good in the light rain.
After opening day, the weather had changed, so I'd gone to film with other hunters, returning 4 days later after conditions were right again, with that gut feeling still there, that maybe we should not have let him walk.
Getting real stormy now.
This segment is brought to you by Hoyman and the new no-slip H-grip on their full line of tools. Best-in-class tools for every application. Hoyman, your land, your legacy. This segment has been brought to you by the Heater Bodysuit. The Heater Bodysuit is the ultimate cold weather hunting garment that allows you to stay on stand longer and sit comfortably. The Heater Bodysuit. You stay warm or your money back.
24th of September. I snuck in here this morning. I checked the stealth cam, put some more monster mail out. And he'd been through here a fair bit in the last 9 days. Low light, but there's lots of farming and stuff going on right now, so.
The bad weather after passing was maybe a sign, an omen, that we had had our chance, and we were about to get a lesson on how quickly a good stand can go bad. Eddie had slowed down making appearances on the stealth cam, and though we had only hunted the stand a couple of times, it felt burnt out. Deer movement was slim and late, and not the regular for the spot.
He's still alive.
The days started ticking by. We were seeing deer, but very few, and that pit in my stomach was growing as fast as the faith in our spot was slipping. Sit after sit, we were seeing 2, maybe 3 deer, mostly at dark, and some nights none at all.
I'm not sure what day it is, but the last few sits have been pretty terrible. Hopefully tonight's better. We knew things get kind of busy down here, and on the way in, I don't know what it'd be. Not very far away, we noticed something shining in the trees, and I seen it was another blind set up there. And so that wind drifting down into the bottom here might be causing us some trouble the last few days. So we had our chance, Joe. I got a few-day break here. I don't know if the break was long enough to repair this place.
Yeah.
I came in yesterday, checked the stealth cam card. It didn't look very good at all.
Eddie, who'd been a regular in daylight, was now here strictly at night, and seldom, and things weren't about to get better.
Well, yesterday was rifle, moose, muzzleloader, whitetail, muzzleloader,
Mule deer.
raw mule deer. And there was a lot of guys in here. It actually almost looked like a pumpkin patch when we come in here. But that's fine, but it's hard on this stand, so we're trying to make decisions on how long we stick it out. And had a bit of a malfunction last night and broke my sight coming out of the blind when we moved. So I had to do a little doctoring, and all we're missing is the deer that I should have shot on the first day. Every time he comes to here, Joe reminds me, every time we sit here, Joe leans over and he's like, you know, we could have caught him the first day. Nothing until late last night. Keeping on track. I'm starting to think our time here is very limited. Actually, I think we're into overtime down here.
Sometimes it's hard to take your own advice, and I knew already that the spot was done. I'd have recommended anyone else to move, and I just needed to listen to that voice.
Day something.
Yeah, I don't even know what day it is. You had a lot of sits in for this guy already.
It's not too bad, except the guy's seeing almost no deer.
Yeah.
But I went today on the other side of the valley, checked the camera where that deer is through the summer. He's been over there in the daylight, which he never has been in the years past. He's always comes over here, but I think the pressure's pushed him.
Yeah, that's what I would say to you. I'm thinking all the people pressure on this side has made him go over to there where it's more quiet.
So I didn't waste any time, got it all set up over there. It's ready to hunt. I think we can hunt it in a couple days.
Tonight again, no deer, just this lonely bull moose looking for love. In an odd way, these problems, these situations, are in a way what makes it so challenging but so fun to hunt big mature deer. Frustrating at the time, but also what we love. But I also knew walking out that night, I knew we wouldn't be back. We'd lost this round and this spot was done.
The buck that we've been hunting, it's been not going so well, and it's only been getting worse, so I had 3 tester cameras out to see kind of what direction he was coming and why he wasn't coming through that bottom anymore. He's been hanging around here in perfect daylight. So we're about a mile away. I think we can come hunt this in a couple days.
It's October 21st, so that's about 36 days apart between encounters. and a brand new setup, but that's all right. This is what we wanted to accomplish tonight, have them come out in broad daylight.
This segment is brought to you by Wild Edge, makers of the ultimate climbing system, the Step Ladder. Safely design your climb in any tree with the most versatile, lightweight, and compact climbing system, the Step Ladder. To book your own dream hunt in northern Saskatchewan, please contact us at Canadian Whitetail Outfitters. Canadian Whitetail has also been brought to you by these fine sponsors. For exclusive content, follow Dean and the team on Facebook, as well as on Instagram and Twitter at Whitetail Dean. To view all past and present episodes of Canadian Whitetail, as well as new original content, visit us on our YouTube and Carbon TV channels. For Canadian Whitetail gear and apparel, visit CanadianWhitetailTV.com.